All right. You already know this is Hot Seat with PrettyYanny, and I am your beautiful, humble host. What? PrettyYanny. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I've got the most beautiful, the most amazing, the most gorgeous lady in my hot seat. And she goes by the name Farida. You're blushing for a minute there, huh?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. How have you been? It's been so long.
I know. I did all right. I'm just like in school and I'm working and also juggling different projects and initiatives in the community. So
Right.
I'm just trying to stay afloat and yeah, just keep it together.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, in general, how have you been coping and juggling everything together?
I'd say just following my schedule. So I have like a planner and I have a kind of way where I schedule things out throughout the week, throughout the month, and then like quarterly and yearly. And so just kind of staying on top of that as much as possible, having a to-do list, and just trying to hold myself accountable. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, before we start going deeper into this conversation, could you please just introduce yourself? Because I feel like I will probably not do a good job at that.
I mean, you did a good job already.
But I feel like there's more to you because I know you wear so many hats. So please introduce yourself to the Hot Seat lovers as well as
Okay.
Farida's fan base.
So my name is Farida. I am a Nigerian American Muslim, proudly. As you can see, I am currently a student. I also work full-time. I'm a former celebrity stylist, and I'm also the first runner-up for Miss Diaspora Nigeria USA. I like to do a lot of different community service engagements, whether it's with the Nigerian Muslim community or the Yoruba community of Massachusetts. But apart from that, I like to think of myself as a creative problem solver or a creative. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Okay, thank you so much for that introduction. And I know you already kind of hinted us a little bit about you being the, Miss Diaspora
Diaspora,
Nigeria
Nigeria.
for 2023/2024, right?
Yeah.
And of course, you wear so many other hats, which includes you being an entrepreneur. You do have Ayaba,
Yeah.
and then you also have Flavorful Fix, right?
Yeah.
How do you tend to juggle all these things together?
I just take time every single day, a little bit of time to add to each of them. So I think that's what over time allows it to grow. And so just making sure that I'm able to just contribute something to Ayaba or to the Flavorful Fix business in some way, and being consistent with that allows all of it to grow at the same time.
Right. So now we're going to pick everything one at a time, right? But we'll start
Okay.
with Ayaba because
Yeah.
I know of Ayaba. And of course, actually, no, you tell us about it.
Yeah, you were one of my first supporters,
Yeah?
and I gave my first customer review. And so Ayaba started back in 2020, and it was kind of more of a passion project where I just felt a bit burnt out and I wanted to express my creativity in some way.
Yeah.
And so I started making different African inspired accessories and just posting it online. And it got a lot of attention. A lot of people liked it. So I was able to just build off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. And then what about Flavorful Fix?
So Flavorful Fix actually started for another reason. And so I have basically like a food startup idea, and I wanted to create a page where I could basically create or cultivate an audience of people who are into food. And so that's why I started that. And I'm launching a food product in the near future. So be on the lookout for that.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
she said that here first. Okay.
Yeah.
You better tap what?
Tap in.
I love it. Now let's go into you going into the beauty pageant world and coming out as the first runner up. What?
Man.
Miss Diaspora Nigeria 2023,
Yeah.
2024. Let's talk about it, right? What led you into that?
Honestly, I think, I don't know if every little girl kind of, I don't know, aspires to an extent to do something like that. So I think it was a little, childhood thing that I always wanted to do. And I did it at my university, at Boston University, through their African Student Organization. And I won that one. So that one gave me some ginger, some confidence.
To go for it. You're like, let me go big with this one.
Yeah, so I saw their page on Instagram and I was like, maybe I can, maybe I can try it out. And I remember meeting you and, hearing about your experience in Miss Nigeria as well. So I was just like, let me just shoot my shot, I'm going to be looking different with the hijab on, but, I got a lot to offer and I'll just go for it. And so it was stressful, very stressful. A lot of investment went into it, but I think it was worthwhile and I learned a lot about myself. So it was a good experience overall.
Definitely is. It is. And of course you gained yourself more sisters, and I think that's the beauty part of like beauty pageants. You definitely have the sisters that you guys will walk through life together for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
of them, fall off, but at the same time, you still got yourself like a great sisterhood.
Exactly.
And that's that. Okay. On this episode of HotSeat with PrettyYanny, I just want to say a big thank you and a big shout out to Isamore. That beautiful dress you see me rocking on this episode was sponsored by them. Please follow on all their social media pages at Isamore. Definitely tap in. Now, let's talk about the parental aspect of things. And before we actually go into the parental aspect of things, when you came out as, of course, a Muslim, a proud Muslim that wants to dive into the pageantry world.
Yeah.
What was either the feedback, the backlash, what was it like? Did people receive it well or not? Of course, you're the one that went through this, so you'd be able to shed more light on that. And also, if it was like a backlash that you got, how were you able to get through it?
I didn't get that much backlash. If there was any negative feedback, I didn't hear it.
Okay.
So, I think I was met with a lot of love and support. I think people like seeing girls who wear hijab represented in those spaces.
And stepping out of their comfort zone.
Exactly. And I think because it shows them that like, okay, you can, be yourself, you can be authentic and stand in your truth and still go for, these things that sometimes objectify women. So it's like, here I am on a pageant, on a stage, and I'm fully covered, and I was still able to go far in the competition. So I think it inspires people, and I got a lot of positive feedback overall.
And what about your parents?
My parents, at this point, I think they have accepted, who I am. And so when I come with them with something that's kind of out of the blue or drastic, I feel like they're with it. They've known me the most. They know me well. It was a shock to them when I decided to wear my hijab. So, anytime I come with something, they're just like, okay, yeah, this is typical Farida. We'll support you.
Let's have it. I love it. I love it. And kudos to Dad and Mom if you guys are watching.
Yeah.
All right. So let's break it down a little bit, right? You're a beautiful girl. Of course, you're going to get people like, shooting their shot. And like, How do you get through that? Or how do you receive it?
How do I receive it? I mean, I appreciate it. I think for me, I definitely, being older, it's something that I would want to be much more like intentional about. And so I appreciate the love, but it's like a difference between, love and then like someone that's very intentional and being serious. And that's what I would take seriously.
Serious?
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Do you have a favorite celebrity crush?
Not at the moment,
Why not? Well, you had one before.
I mean, did I have one before? I mean, not really.
Really? It's okay. We can talk about it behind the scene. But yeah, I'm going to let you pass with that. You sure you don't want to say it?
I'm sure, yeah.
Okay. That's okay if you don't want to talk about it. It's okay. What's your love language?
My love language, I would say words of affirmation. So it's not just like compliments, but it's like good communication, like just that reassurance. I feel like women in general like to be reassured. And then I would say acts of service. And so just like, you know, showing that love through your actions in different ways. I think I really appreciate that. Yeah, words of affirmation, acts of service.
Yeah, like all three might as well
Probably,
just say all 5.
probably physical touch. Yeah, I read this quote once that said like your love languages are kind of like the things that you didn't get as much when you were a child.
Younger?
And so yeah, I would say those 3.
Okay. All right. Well, if anybody's watching. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have what do you look for in your type of man?
I look for someone who is principled, someone who is a leader in a sense, because it's like I'm in the mindset where it's like I'm, you know, more so looking for a husband. So it's like, how are you showing that you can be a husband? And so it's like leadership, being principled, being responsible and reliable. Obviously someone that I'm attracted to, someone that I can connect with like intellectually, but also spiritually. Having that overall compatibility.
Right.
Yeah, someone who is family oriented and cares about the community. And intelligent, yeah, I would say those things.
Okay.
Principled man, a Muslim man, you know, practicing.
If you're watching, you got a hot cake over here. All right. So as a Muslim, right? And as a beauty pageant queen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel limited or restricted to certain things?
I would say yes to an extent. Sometimes like certain activities that we were required to do, I either could not participate in or I kind of had to just change it to kind of fit my needs. And so like, for example, like we had a dance fit that we had to wear and it was a crop top. So obviously I couldn't wear the crop top. That would look crazy. So I just had to wear like a under, you know, bodysuit that was long sleeve. And that was just the way I had to adjust it to meet my
You
needs.
had to be creative about the fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Right. I know. I remember watching the show.
Yeah.
It was a good time. I enjoyed everything about it for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the part where we want to talk about you being the beauty pageant queen and, you know, your maybe like your goals and stuff that you might want to do for the community as well, and touch base on like some things, you know what I mean? Like this is like the deep stuff, basically, like deep stuff.
Okay.
So when it comes to the mental health in the Black community, what are your thoughts on it?
That's very deep because you can look at it in so many different angles. And like thinking about all the different intersecting identities that we have as Black people in America. Like you have your Nigerian American, the immigrant, being Black in America, all those things kind of intersect. And then you have like this collective culture that we all share. And I feel like within that culture, like mental health is kind of considered as a taboo type of subject. And so whichever angle you're looking at it, if you're looking at like the Black American that's carrying everything from like the transatlantic slave trade up into now, or you're looking at the Nigerian immigrant family and that whole process up until now, like all those things have had an impact, whether it's like through generations or more recently. And so we all share like those either collective traumas or individual traumas. And I think like for a long time, or in many cases, people like to treat it as like personality traits. So like, this is just how I am. I'm antisocial. That's why I behave like this. But no, it's actually like your behavior oftentimes can be informed by trauma. And so I think like it's important for us to try to recognize this and to try to like identify those things that manifest in our personality or in our
Right.
behavior,
Right.
that comes from trauma. And so just like trying to be more aware about it, because it's something that we've put to the side so much
Yep.
in our culture.
Right.
And just also just, I guess, sharing that awareness for people and helping them understand. I feel like with Nigerians, like I think they're, the way sometimes Nigerians can see mental health issues, I feel like they don't see it as something that's real.
Yep.
But it is very real. And and the thing is like, even if we don't try to like recognize it, it gets stored in our body. Like stress and trauma gets stored in our body, and then it manifests as a health issue. So that's like where it really, comes to shock you, because you're storing stress from years, and then you have different, health issues like hypertension or you get like heart attacks,
Yeah.
strokes, stuff like that, come from stress and come from trauma, and it comes because we're not, cognizant of taking care of those things that cause those stressors. So, yeah, it's a deep
conversation to
yeah.
have for sure. Where are you mentally?
Mentally, I would say I'm okay mentally. Yeah. I feel like I've definitely taken the time to do inner work to try to figure out what traumas I went through that informs my behavior. Like, one comment that I get is that I'm very shy all the time. So it's like, okay, let me try to figure out where this shyness is coming from. Because I wasn't shy when I was younger. But, when I tried to actually think about things that happened in my life, like things that were sent to like silence me, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is why maybe this is why I'm quiet now. Stuff like that. So, yeah.
That makes sense. On this episode of HotSeat with PrettyYanny, I just want to say a big thank you and a big shout out to a plant-based milk business called Kunuya. This drink is made out of tiger nuts. It's naturally sweet, creamy, and also nutritious. For any other information, please follow at taste.kunuya on Instagram. Definitely tap in. How do you feel about the education system in America?
That's another big topic. I feel like it's not really conducive to the to the situation for the child of today.
Also,
I feel like it's outdated. I feel like, whoever's writing the curriculums are, probably have an agenda for how they want our children to think.
That's interesting. I thought, okay, go ahead. Because I was thinking maybe from the standpoint of nowadays in regards to, how like computers are accessible. They use iPads in school and stuff like that. So everything is now sort of kind of like digital.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I mean, with those digital advantages, it's an advantage and a disadvantage, because it kind of outsources like the work that the child would be able to do. Now they can rely on technology to do it instead of themselves.
Right.
And so like, I think I'm all about more so cultivating the child's mind, because I feel like these things will kind of stunt them in a way.
Right.
And so I feel like the education system has failed and is continuing to fail. I feel like it's this cookie cutter type of, curriculum that's created to make every child think the same. And, every child has a different destiny, has a different purpose in life. And so how can you try to mold them in one way and to think in one way? You have to be able to like cultivate that child, have some sort of like child-centered learning in order to unlock their own intelligence. And that's how, kids can be themselves and give the gifts that God has given them to the world.
I know you're very big on mental health, and that's why I keep like piggybacking off of that.
Yeah.
Do you plan to have like some sort of like organization for the mental health folks, for people?
It's something I've definitely thought about. It's possible. I won't say no, but yeah, it's possible.
That's something you definitely want to explore.
For sure.
Okay. All right. Do you ever want to be a mother someday?
Of course. I would want to be a mother, but like, again, like with children, especially in this country, like you have to be very intentional about like
what they're learning.
Yeah, what they're learning, but like even like when it comes to like planning to have a child, like you have to be very just intentional from the start. And so like once you've conceived that child, it's like, okay, that's when the planning starts. Like you have to start assessing your environment.
True.
And like assessing like where they're gonna grow up, who they're gonna go to school with, trying to understand what type of parenting style you want to have. Like that tough love, the African parenting style, it doesn't always help in this, and I guess for like American children. It's like something that you have to see when you can use it and when you can't use it. Like, for example, like if you're raising your child in a predominantly white town, you have to like be aware of the fact that your child's going to school and there's kids calling your child the N-word. And you can't your child shouldn't come home and then meet tough love. Like you have to be able to like speak life to your child, like uplift your child, like so that they know that who they are and where they're coming from, so that when they go outside, the world is not telling them who they are. So I think there's a lot of intentionality that comes with that too. But yeah, I definitely want to be a mother. Yeah.
And I know you touched base on, okay, you're in that era of looking for a husband,
Yeah.
And of course, like, from your mouth to God's ears, for sure.
Amen.
However, what do you think the role of a wife is?
I think the role of a wife is definitely to, I guess, come into the husband's life and kind of like cultivate in every way. And so I feel like the man is like, when the wife and the husband come together, I feel like there's things that obviously would be able to come and to like manifest that you wouldn't be able to do as individuals. And so the wife comes as that like key to unlock everything. So it's like, whether it's like his lineage that he wants to, cultivate and his ascendance that he wants to develop, or it's him walking in his purpose, but he needs a woman on his side to be able to do that, in my opinion. And so I think that like the woman would be able to help, I guess, like propagate his purpose. If they're both
activate it.
Yeah, activate his purpose. Like if they're destiny partners and purpose helpers, then they would be able to really achieve so much favor together. And so I think that a man who values himself would value his wife and would understand that like in order for him to live and to have his ascendance, he can only get that through his wife. And so I think it's a partnership. It's like a mutual understanding. From an Islamic perspective, it's, the partner that you're supposed to get back to heaven with. And so it's a big deal. And also from an Islamic perspective, like your spouse is considered like someone that's like your garment. So a garment is someone that covers you, something that covers you, something that protects you. And so that's where I guess the wife and the husband kind of fill in for each other. They protect each other. They're each other's garments. They cover for each other. They, wherever they fall short, the other one, comes in. And so, yeah, I think it's just a divine, partnership.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
No, you're good. You're good. All right. So I got like 2 more questions for you, right?
Okay.
What are your thoughts on African studies and affairs?
I'd say I love African studies. I don't know too much about the affairs. I know some about, the politics that's going on, especially in West Africa. There's been a recent military coup in Niger. Senegal just elected their president that they imprisoned. So a lot is going on there. But in terms of African studies, I minored in African studies at BU, and it's just like a wealth of knowledge. Like there's so much more than what our education systems teach us, which again is like...
I also studied I did Black studies in school too. So.
Yeah, so there's so much more, and it was so enlightening for me. It's like, you feel like you're learning about yourself, but then you learn so much more too about our people, about where they come from, about like Black consciousness, about like the different epistemologies and like pedagogies of like ways of living and ways of thinking that come from Africa. about Black civilization, about Ifa. So I feel like the average Nigerian maybe, thinks that Ifa is very negative and very bad. But no, like when you learn about it, it's actually very beautiful. Like a lot of the concepts are beautiful. Even learning about Eshu, right? Eshu is the devil, but that's what they say, but not really. The story about Eshu is like, am I pronouncing it right? Eshu.
Go ahead, you're good.
Like the story about Eshu is just a person that causes like confusion or conflict. So like the story about him is like, Eshu he's in the middle of a path and he's wearing a two-colored hat. One side of the hat is white and the other side is black.
It's just like
and
that.
One friend,
you know that thing, the good and the bad, white and black?
Yeah. And so you have a friend walking this way from the path, other friend walking that way. They walk past each other, they walk past Eshu, and then the friends stop to talk to each other. And one of the friends says, "Hey, did you see that guy that was wearing a black hat?" And the other one was saying, "No, he was wearing a white hat." And then he was like, "No, I'm 100% sure he was wearing a black hat." And that's when the conflict starts. So that's what Eshu does. Eshu kind of just, not necessarily deceives people, but it causes like those conflicts between people, which at the end of the day, what's the message of that story? It's that, people have different point of views. People have different perceptions. You should take a step back outside of yourself to look at it from a different point of view. That's all. But now people call that person the devil. And I'm just like, no, like if that person's a devil, that means you're a devil too, because it's about perception. So I think just learning about African studies, learning about Islam in West Africa, that's been very big for me. Just even thinking about what it means to be like a Pan-Africanist, which I think is important. And I think more Nigerians should be Pan-Africanists because I feel like we have a duty, especially as Nigerians in the diaspora, to take the good that we're able to take here and bring it back to Africa, because nobody else is doing that. People are still trying to exploit Africa to this day. And the only economies that are expected to double in the world are all along that western coast of Africa. And this is what the Chinese people know. This is what, people who are coming into Africa to come and do. We have a position to actually claim that and use it to help our people. So I think African studies is something that everyone should take if you have it at your school. You should also learn an African language. Me, I took Hausa, so ina jin Hausa sosai.
Okay.
Ina jin Hausa kamar jakin Kano. So,
What does that mean?
Like I can speak Hausa as well as someone from Kano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. On this episode of HotSeat with PrettyYanny, I just want to say a big thank you and a big shout out to a plant-based milk business called Kunuya. This drink is made out of tiger nuts. It's naturally sweet, creamy, and also nutritious. For any other information, please follow at taste.kunuya on Instagram. Definitely tap in. So my next question for you, right? With everything that you've said, right? With the role that religion is playing in Nigeria or in Africa, right? Do you think that introducing African studies will be acceptable?
With the role that religion is playing is very tough because in Nigeria, you have the strong Christian population, the strong Muslim population, and it's like once you've picked your religion, everybody puts blinders up and that's it. And so I think there definitely needs to be a lot of mentalities changed towards understanding African religion, African studies, and, not looking at it from, I would say, the colonizer's perspective, because basically that's essentially what it is, and that's what's been accepted as truth. But trying to look back within yourself, look back within your heritage to understand what this really meant. Because there's no way that, our ancestors were, engaging in some sort of evil or demonic type of activity. And I think once people try to see that, then they should be open to the idea of understanding what this really means and trying to see, where there could be a balance, where we can actually make it more acceptable for people to learn this and study this without there being any issue. Like there's a lot of, I would say, like strong initiatives towards deterring people from knowledge for some reason. Obviously, we have terrorist groups that are telling us that education is completely wrong and that they're trying to, take, girls out.
Right.
I don't know if I can say it on the camera, but it's just like, yeah. So it's just like wherever these ideas of like these strong opposing ideas towards education came from, which I think is a result of colonialization and white supremacy, just trickling down into what we have today in Nigeria. All of that has to kind of just be, there needs to be an initiative to kind of reverse that and to kind of open people's minds to like who we truly are and where we came from. And it's okay to do that and still be a Muslim and still be a Christian.
All right. So thank you so much. I mean, this, like everything you said, definitely, you did a great job, like, explaining it, and definitely, like,
Thanks.
I love it. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
All right. So last thing before we head out, right? To a young girl that is looking up to the Miss Diaspora Nigeria 2023-2024, what would you like to say to them?
I would say to her that she should be comfortable in her skin and comfortable showing up as she is, and to just be her authentic self, to not listen to the noise outside, and to just know that everything that she has is, from the blessings, from the mercy of God, that she's loved, and that she should just show up as herself and be, be herself, be unapologetic, and wear her crown gracefully, whether it's a hijab or if it's her natural hair, whatever it may be. I think she should just be authentic.
Amen to that. Did you hear that? Be authentic. Definitely. I'm feeling this. I wish we had more time, to be honest with you.
I know this was fun.
I got
this
like
was
more
great.
questions, but maybe we'll save it for next time.
Yeah,
However,
for sure.
it was great having you in my hot seat. Okay, last question, right? If people want to like follow you, your business page, your everything, tell us everything we got to know.
Follow me on Instagram at Faridat Ayobami. So that's FARIDAT.AYOBAMI.
Business page?
My business page is ayaba.us, so AYABA.us. It's all in my bio, so check me out. Tap in.
So ladies and gentlemen, I know I don't want to go, but it's been a great session with Farida. Please tap in. Definitely support. If there's a husband out there, you know what to do. I remain your
Instagram.
humble host, PrettyYanny, and thanks for watching.